My family and close friends know that I'm an optimist. For me, the cup is always half full and so on. And so I find it difficult to be around negativity or negative people or people in negative moods. So I don't think I would have liked Job one bit. What a miserable man. But remember what you heard in the introduction. Most likely the book of Job in the Bible, in the Old Testament, is a parable. So most likely fiction. Listen to how that book begins. It really sounds like a play. God and Satan are having a conversation, kind of like they're talking over coffee. And God is saying, you know, my friend Job is such a good man, such a strong Jewish man. He really is wonderful. And Satan says, you think so? I'd like to torture your friend Job and see if he still believes in you. God says, okay, the game is on. You can do anything you want to make Job's life miserable, except you can't kill him. So Job loses his children, his livelihood, his health. Everything about him is gone. We heard he's living in the city dump. He even has 3 friends who try to say, give up on that God of yours. That God obviously is no good. What a miserable life. But then the story does have a very happy ending. Job's health returns. He has many more children, many more farm animals. He's a wealthy, successful man. But it's a parable. The meaning of the parable is that through difficulties sometimes, good things can happen. Another way of looking at it, it's a story of death and resurrection. Job did not die, but everything around him did die. He was experiencing kind of the death of many relationships and family and so on. Then there was resurrection, a new life, a new family, new riches and so on. A beautiful parable about death and resurrection. So we come to the gospel. In the gospel, it's a typical day in the life of Jesus. Although the gospel passage begins with the afternoon, then goes into the evening, then the next morning. So let's start with that afternoon. Jesus is preaching in the synagogue in Capernaum. Capernaum was a large city next to Nazareth. We know that Jesus grew up in Nazareth, was there as a teenager and young man. Capernaum was the big city next door. It'd be like, say, Henderson or North Las Vegas compared to Las Vegas, a metropolitan city with some suburbs around it. And so Jesus often went to Capernaum. That is, in fact, where Simon Peter lived. So after preaching in the synagogue there, they went to the home of Simon Peter. He went with another apostle, James, and 2 other apostles, James and John, and Simon's brother Andrew. And they found out that Simon's mother-in-law was sick. So Jesus cured her, and she waited on them. You used to think, poor woman. She just got out of bed, now she has to wait on these guys? But then I realized that's what she wanted to do. Her joy was to be a good hostess. Her joy was to welcome people into her home, and when she was sick, she couldn't do that. Don't we all feel the same way when we're sick? When we're sick, we can't go to a party, we can't spend time with our family, we isolate ourselves, you know. And when we're better, oh, it's great. Now I can go back to living a normal life. How wonderful it is. Then it says that Jesus cures many who are in that town. The whole town finds he's at Simon's house. They all gather at his door. Jesus cures them, drives out demons, cures their illnesses. Then the next morning, he wakes up early, before dawn, finds a nice quiet place to pray, and then he repeats the same pattern again. So that would be a typical day in the life of Jesus. Early morning, prayer before he starts doing anything else, and then doing the work of the day for him, preaching, healing people, driving out demons, then spending time with the family at night, Simon Peter and his family, sometimes Martha and Mary and Lazarus, and then going to bed and starting all over again. So a couple things I want to ask you, challenge you perhaps. What is your typical day like? Perhaps sometime this week, maybe Tuesday or Thursday, just jot down every 2 hours what you did the last 2 hours. Kind of look at your day. How is it scheduled? Is morning prayer a part of your life? I really think it's the best time to pray. You've heard me say many times, the first thing that happens when I get out of bed, I put my right foot on the floor and make the sign of the cross. Then off I go. showering, shaving, and brushing my teeth and getting dressed, and the day runs. I'd like to say, I'll pray later on this afternoon or tonight. But I think like many of you this afternoon and night, I'm just dead tired and I just fall asleep. I think prayer is an ideal time for many of us. Morning is an ideal time for many of us to pray. Even if you have to give up 15 minutes before everyone else does, so the house is quiet. It doesn't have to be an hour, a couple hours, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Can you start your day with prayer? Of course, pray often during the day if you have time, but if you don't have time, at least you start the day out right before the day gets, ahead of you and you're too tired to do anything else. So again, try. What's a typical day, Monday through Friday, that you live this week? And how much is prayer a part of that schedule? If it's not, time to change your priorities. But the more serious question is the problem of evil. Why do bad things happen to good people? If I knew that answer, I'd be the smartest, maybe richest man in the world. I don't know the answer. And we know how awful it is. Natural disasters, floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, and people die. Why? A child's crossing a school crosswalk. A speeding driver goes and kills that innocent child. Why? I don't know. But one thing I do know is that God does not punish us. Sometimes people believe that bad things happen to me because God is punishing me or God is testing me. He's trying to see how strong my faith is, so he's going to give me cancer just to see if I still like God. God cannot do that. God is not a punishing God. God is not a vengeful God. God is love. Think of a parent who would say to a child, to prove you love me or to test if you love me, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to torture you. I'm going to maim you. That parent would be arrested and thrown into prison for child abuse. So if it's wrong for a parent to physically test a child by torture or harm or danger, certainly God can't do that. I think we have to believe that. Bad things happen. I don't know all the reasons. Some of them are the world around us. The world is full of bad people that can hurt innocent people. Sometimes because of our own mistakes, we are responsible for many of our own problems. And some things we are totally innocent. Bad things happening to good people. I hope you believe that. Years ago at another parish, there was a couple who got married outside the church. They didn't want to wait for an annulment. Got married outside the church. Then they had a child. That child died of cancer at 2 years old. And they were convinced that God took their child because they weren't married in the church. It took me years and years to convince them otherwise. That's not how God operates. God doesn't test us. God doesn't punish us. So we must believe that. And the important thing is when bad things happen to good people, remember God is with you. The last words in Matthew's gospel that Jesus spoke, I am with you always to the end of the world. God is there with you. And sometimes we have to experience something bad in order to appreciate the good. How many times has something bad in your life happened and you got through it, thank God, and then you realize, wow, I've learned something from this. When do you enjoy health the most? After you've gotten better from an illness. Again, when you can get out of bed, the fever's gone, the headache's gone, you feel good, and wow, I love being healthy. So it took us maybe the sickness to realize how precious good health is. Other problems happen. I had a friend whose quote was, after every Good Friday, there's always an Easter Sunday. Or after every death experience, there's always a resurrection. So I believe that good can come out of everything. We need to be patient. We need to be trusting. And most of all, we need to believe that God is with us. I am with you always. I'm with you in your joys. I'm with you in your sorrows. I'm with you in good times and with you in bad. Believe that God is always there. This too will pass. This illness will pass. This problem will pass. May not be in a few days or a few weeks, could be a long, long time. But trust in God. So again, I challenge you. Trust in God always and start every day with prayer. Dedicate today, tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, etc. to God. Begin the day with prayer. And all things will be better, not perfect, problems won't disappear. But if you trust in God, God is there for you. I guarantee you that.